Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I hope you had a beautiful weekend and a beautiful Christmas celebration. We had a wonderful Christmas Eve and a beautiful Christmas Day. My husband has been working so much lately, so it was so nice to have him for the entire weekend to ourselves and spend time together as a family. Today I want to talk about my fertility journey while breastfeeding and how I prepared for pregnancy while I was breastfeeding. So before 4 months postpartum, I could not even think about having another child. I was okay with one. I was still recovering from the whirlwind of the birth, and also it was difficult in the first few months with growth spurts and cluster feeds. But when 4 months came along, we were done with a very difficult developmental growth spurt, and all of a sudden I had this angel of a child and I found myself desiring for another baby. It was also around the time where breastfeeding became easier. My supply had regulated and it wasn't uncomfortable anymore, and we had a routine, and co-sleeping was just very easy, and all of a sudden I got a crazy urge for another baby. For those of you who don't know, you can get pregnant before you get your period in the postpartum. Our body always ovulates first, where it releases an egg to be fertilized and begins to prepare the uterus for pregnancy. That's when you can get pregnant before getting your period. Now, if the egg isn't fertilized, aka you don't get pregnant, we experience menstruation or bleeding and the shedding of the uterine lining. That's basically your first period in the postpartum. I made it my goal to get pregnant on that first time that I ovulate. I didn't want my period back, and I also wanted to get pregnant. So I began to overanalyze every possible symptom of ovulation or pregnancy. I took many pregnancy tests when I thought I had pregnancy symptoms, and time after time it was a negative. And as time went by, I began to grow really frustrated. Many friends and people that I knew that had their first baby after me were pregnant again with their second baby. Then I learned about ecological or biological breastfeeding, and I understood why I wasn't getting pregnant. Ecological breastfeeding is when you breastfeed on demand day and night. You don't sleep train. You co-sleep or bed share with baby. You don't use any pacifiers or bottles. And when baby shows all signs of readiness for solid food, you begin to introduce solid foods slowly. And you continue to breastfeed as the primary food source for at least 1 year. Although it's not foolproof, it is a very effective way of preventing pregnancy. Prolactin, the hormone that is responsible for breastfeeding, stays elevated while breastfeeding, and this naturally prevents ovulation and menstruation, basically the return of fertility. Delaying the return of menstruation can provide a 98% of contraceptive protection for breastfeeding moms in the first 6 months postpartum. And many moms who continue to ecologically breastfeed can have up to 2 years of contraceptive protection. Non-breastfeeding moms are typically infertile for just a few weeks after having their baby, but ecologically breastfeeding moms usually don't have their period return until 9 to 18 months postpartum, often depending on how frequently their baby nurses. Ecological breastfeeding gives the body time to heal and restore itself and prepare for the next pregnancy, while also nourishing the current baby. I was intuitively ecologically breastfeeding without knowing it. I exclusively breastfed my daughter for the first 8 months of her life. Once she showed all signs of readiness, I gradually began to introduce solid foods. But breast milk was still her primary source of nutrition for a very long time. At 15 months postpartum, my period finally returned. I never thought I would be so excited to see it, and no, I did not get pregnant that first time that I ovulated. My husband and I weren't intensely trying to conceive like we did with Selena, but we were mindful and intentional and took advantage of every month's fertile window. It was nice to have sex be about connecting and pleasure rather than having it seem like a task or a chore. It was still so difficult to wait, but during the wait, I was intentional about spending time with my daughter and preparing my body for the next pregnancy. I was preparing my body for the next pregnancy because I learned about the importance of preconception health. I knew how depleted my body must be from pregnancy with Selena and ecological breastfeeding. Preconception health is so important because in the first 10 weeks of pregnancy, all the major organs form, such as the brain, the spinal cord, the heart, the eyes, the ears, the tongue, tooth buds, nasal passages, limbs, and reproductive organs. During this developmental period, nourishment of the developing baby is provided only by the fluid produced by the endometrial glands, which are found in the mucous membrane lining of the uterus. There is no maternal bloodstream access to the baby until after 10 to 12 weeks of gestation, when the mother's blood supply, delivered via the umbilical cord, takes over and the fluid produced by the endometrial glands dries up. So I learned, therefore, that your health must be optimized before getting pregnant, so that the uterine environment is optimal and ready to fully support the developing baby and placenta. Short spacing between pregnancy and between breastfeeding and pregnancy do not give mom enough time to recover from the physiological stresses of the previous pregnancy before the stresses of the next pregnancy. This further depletes nutrient stores. Going into a new pregnancy with depleted nutrient stores greatly increases your risk for pregnancy and birth complications such as preeclampsia and hypertension. It also increases baby's risk for health problems in pregnancy and in the future. So, learning about the importance of preconception health helped make the wait to become pregnant worthwhile. So how did I prepare my body for the next pregnancy while also breastfeeding my daughter the entire time? One of the ways I prepared was by eating a nutrient-dense diet. I incorporated plenty of pasture-raised eggs and good quality meats, healthy dairy and fats such as raw milk and cheese and cream and butter. I ate lots of seasonal fruit and vegetables. I made a lot of sourdough bread and lots of bone broth. I even learned how to make sauerkraut and water kefir, which is actually very easy to make and really delicious and full of really great probiotics. I aimed to cook with and eat simple, nourishing, nutrient-dense foods. I also strived to eat frequently when I was hungry and to eat enough. Bye. I love you. I love you. Jump, come here. I also focused on stress management. Bless you. It's not possible to live a completely stress-free life, but it is possible to control how we react to stress and also minimizing it in our life. My faith played a really big role in stress management. Reading God's promises, bringing my worries to Him, and practicing gratitude were some of the most effective ways for me of reducing stress. I also made the time to walk barefoot in the grass and in the dirt, and spend time in the sunshine, letting it soak into my bare skin. I enjoyed listening to beautiful music. I played and danced with my toddler. I connected with my husband. I honored when my body needed to rest and prioritized quality sleep, and co-sleeping made that possible. I also worked on minimizing toxins in our home. When we lived in Mexico, I used air filters because we have had horrendous air quality 24/7 outside. And when we moved out of Mexico and then into the mountains, we had fresh air, so I would open the windows daily and let in the fresh air. I began to use a water filter and drank clean, mineralized water. I found healthy alternatives for products that we use daily in our house, such as cleaning products, laundry, beauty, hygiene. I definitely wasn't perfect in my preconception health preparation, but I had a lot of grace for myself, and I did everything as practically made sense to us and financially for our family. And then finally, at 27 months postpartum, I was pregnant again. I was still nursing my toddler on demand day and night when I got pregnant. And this pregnancy honestly came as such a surprise to me because I wasn't overanalyzing anything for a very long time. I am now 29 weeks pregnant, and I continue to nurse my toddler, even though my milk supply dried up at 13 weeks pregnancy. Since then, I've cut down nursing to only nights because of the extreme nipple pain and nursing aversions. It did get better in the second trimester, but now it's really painful again. I'm not sure what the plan is for the future with our breastfeeding journey. I don't know if I'm going to keep breastfeeding her when the baby comes and only limit it to certain times of the day because of the benefits that come with breastfeeding, or if I will end our journey. I don't know. I will update you guys as I figure it out and as it makes sense to us. So many people told me that I need to wean my daughter to get pregnant. And I'm so glad that I ignored them and continued to nurse my daughter, because deep inside I knew that I was going to get pregnant while nursing her. So that is my fertility journey with getting pregnant with baby number 2. It was not easy. It was full of so many lessons. I had to learn to trust God's timing and trust His design and listen to my intuition and be so very patient. One of the most valuable lessons that I learned during this time was to make the most of the wait, to not constantly live for something that we want in the future, but to live every single day intentionally and to the fullest. It was hard to get to that point, but it was so worthwhile. Now that I am getting close to meeting this new baby, I realize that I only have like 10 to 12 weeks left with just my daughter and me, and then we're gonna be a family of 4. And I'm so glad that I got to spend all the time that I did with my daughter, because I know that my heart will expand to love this baby as much as I love my daughter. But I also understand that this time that I had with my daughter one-on-one, it was so special because it was just me and her. And I got to give her my full attention and love and comfort and all of me. If you have any questions about my fertility journey, please ask in the comments below. If you have any valuable lessons to share, or if you would like to share about your trying to conceive journey, please share. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. And also, don't forget to subscribe. I post every single week. I did take a long, much needed break that I get into details more in the last video that I made, but I plan to post a video every single week for you guys. Thank you so much for being here.